आप कितने भी करिकुलम में चेंजेस कर लो, आप क्लासेस में एलईडी लगाओ, आप दुनिया भर के नई नई चीज़ें इंट्रोड्यूस करें, सैटेलाइट एजुकेशन, फॉरेन इंस्ट्रक्टर फॉर ए डे, ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग जो मैंने भी इतना रिकमेंडेशन ये सब कुछ किया, unless the teacher of general education is prepared specifically for this professional duty, and unless he is a believer in it, unless he accepts these things with great enthusiasm, his teaching will be spineless, spiritless, aimless, ineffectual. Unfortunately, few institutions in our education system can do it. And what is more unfortunate, only a few institutions are willing to prepare such students, such teachers. अगर आप दाएं बाएं देखेंगे, you would see little relationship between the purposes of graduate study and college teaching. The future occupation of vast majority of graduate students, किसी का teaching नहीं होगा मकसद, rarest of rare. और अगर teaching मकसद होगा तो उसका curriculum नहीं होगा उस लाइन में. ये इंस्टीट्यूशंस स्पेशलिस्ट बनाने के लिए परफेक्ट है, जो इंटरेस्टेड होता है इन पर्टिकुलर एडवांस्ड ब्रांचेस ऑफ स्टडी में. इट्स नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन टीचिंग मल्टीट्यूड्स ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स. नो, इंस्टीट्यूशंस वांट द मोस्ट रिफाइंड क्रीम ऑफ द सोसाइटी, जो ऑलरेडी एडवांस स्टडी कर चुका है. ये इंस्टीट्यूशन बने ही होते हैं उनके लिए जो आर गोइंग टू फॉलो द इंस्ट्रक्टर्स कॉलिंग, जो टेक्निकल लिटरेचर में ज़िंदगी काटेंगे, वहीं पे रहेंगे, उसी कैबिन में पढ़ते रहेंगे, लिटिल टू डू विद आउटसाइड रियलिटी. बट मोस्ट ऑफ अस आर नॉट दैट. और तीसरी बीमारी, एलिमेंट्री सब्जेक्ट मैटर पढ़ाना हमारे स्पेशलिस्ट को beneath his dignity लगता है. It is often delegated to the younger, inexperienced members of the staff. शंकर लो ना एक क्लास, आई एम बिजी, आई हैव टू वर्क ऑन दिस लीगो का एक्सपेरिमेंट, ग्रेविटेशनल वेव्स डिस्कवर करनी है मुझे, ये 9वीं के बच्चों को आज तुम पढ़ाओ. एंड इवन इफ सच अ टीचर एंटर्स द क्लासरूम, मोस्ट ऑफ थिंग्स ही टीचेस highly technical introduction to the subject, ill suited for majority of students who will not go further in that particular field. What after all are teachers? What are they trying to do? मकसद क्या है टीचर का? What is it all about anyhow? They are this salesman of culture. They are the salesman. Salesman has to do the finest job. He has to feel for the product he is selling. Our teacher doesn't. इमाम जरनूजी कहते हैं, It is essential to choose established traditions before new things. वो कहते हैं कि it is said, cleave to established traditions while avoiding new things. Be aware of becoming engrossed in those disputes which come about after one has cut loose from the traditional authorities. Why? इमाम ज़रनूजी says, क्योंकि ये disputes आपको इल्म से दूर रखेंगे, आपका वक्त ज़ाया करेंगे. They will waste away your life. They will leave you with nothing but solitude, and more importantly, 800 साल पहले वो कह रहे हैं कि it will end you up in hostility if you start studying directly the things where we differ on. If we move outside the tradition on the very first day, and we see that this is happening in our society. In fact, the prevalence of dispute is one of the indications of the coming of Qiyamah. The Prophet said it, the annihilation of knowledge and doctrine. Regarding the choice of a teacher who should teach it, it's important that we select the most learned and the most pious. Pious being the more important category and the most advanced in experience. In fact, it was this criteria which Imam Abu Hanifa applied when he chose Hamad ibn Abi Sulaiman. The teacher has to be a generalist. A teacher has to be a believer in what he is teaching. A teacher has to be a believer in his culture, because he is its salesman. He has to be a traditionalist, period. Add to it the fact that most outcomes of a teaching then also depend upon the character of teacher, the character of teaching, his own belief set. The teacher that is teaching in the classroom freedom of speech doesn't believe in it. Do you think he will be able to inculcate it in his students? Remember the example Shair Khudus Bakta hai. Do you think that teacher could have made his student love the poetry of Ghalib or anyone else? When your teacher tells you कि पास ही तो करना है, it's not going to be of any use. हम काफ़ी बार सुनते हैं कि we have no good teachers, है ही नहीं कहीं पे, कहाँ से आएंगे टीचर्स, अब कहाँ वो बात ही नहीं रही टीचर्स में, नो ग्रेट टीचर. क्या बात हुआ करती थी, वो हुआ करते थे मुअज़्ज़ज़ ज़माने में, क्या इज्जत हुआ करती थी. But if we don't have a great teacher, the next best thing may be tough. We might not have a great teacher, but let's have a great curriculum at least. हम एक गिफ्टेड टीचर की बात करते हैं कि वो हमको इंस्पायर करेगा, वो हमको गाइड करेगा, whatever he may teach, because he just has this charisma. He's able to like put it inside our hearts. और हम सब ये जानते हैं, बहुत कम लोग इस सोसाइटी में जो ये कर पाते हैं. Only a few students, only a few people in our society play such an indispensable part कि वो आग लगा दे स्टूडेंट्स के सीने में, जो कलब को गरमा दे, जो उनके अंदर एक तड़प पैदा करे कि और हासिल करने की, एक्सीलेंस हासिल करने की, जो एजुकेशन के बेस्ट प्रेजेंटर्स हैं, जो कल्चर के बेस्ट डिफेंडर्स हैं, जो रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं उस ज़माने की नीड्स को. वी ऑल नो कि ऐसे रेयर एक पैदा होता है, वो शहर है, वो होता है वो दीदावर पैदा हज़ारों सालों में एक. It is true, there is no education reform as important as the improvement of teaching and teacher. But even if a good teacher is this important, even if indispensable as the good teacher may seem, it by no means follows that what he teaches can be relevant. Not at all. A good teacher at the end of the day is only a mouthpiece of the truth that speaks through him. It is truth that is to be valued. The value of this teacher depends ultimately upon how complete this truth is. And how do we know how complete this truth is? This can only be judged by the only standards by which it can be judged. Our tradition. हम क्या हैं, हमारे वैल्यूज़ क्या हैं, वो जज करेगा हमारा टीचर कैसा है. अब इसका दूसरा ऑपोजिट है, एक्सट्रीम है कि द टीचर डजंट मैटर बिकॉज इट्स द ट्रुथ दैट काउंट्स, टीचर इज इररिलेवेंट. देखिए, कुछ सब्जेक्ट्स इंपॉर्टेंट है, ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, मोर यूनिवर्सल देन अदर्स. सो वी बिलीव दैट दे मे लेजिटिमेटली बी टॉट इन डिफरेंट वेज, नॉट ओनली बाई डिफरेंट टीचर्स but also in different institutions. ऐसा भी हो सकता है. But a human mind is fallible. There is no person or institution जिसके पास पेटेंट है हक का. स्टूडेंट्स में डिफरेंसेस है, इसीलिए टीचिंग में भी डिफरेंसेस होंगे. Like the art which teaching is, we have to cope up with all these differences. So there is a double duty in teaching: setting forth the truth that is usable in the sense of which the students can adopt, and honesty. The teaching has to come from the inner integrity of the teacher. He should be a believer in it. इस पूरे डिस्कशन के बाद सिर्फ एक सवाल अब बचता है. One last question remains. जब तक हम ये जन्नत की हकीकत हासिल कर लें, तब तक हम क्या करेंगे? I am already in my 40s. What can I do now? This is what the curriculum demands. What can I do now? And I know it's a tough question. But then the culture is our rescue. Has not our culture told us that with great difficulty comes ease? Have we not been taught when winter comes, the spring is not far behind? You can at least start with becoming a believer. Start working on what you believe in personally. हाँ, difficult. Added difficulty. Curriculum भी करना है, बच्चे भी पालने हैं, और भी ये बढ़ गया, extra काम. But with great difficulty is an even greater reward. Who has grown? But the one who has lifted the weight. खुद को खुद पढ़ाना शुरू करें. And 3, the most important thing, root yourself firmly inside your tradition. Make it your wall against every influence out there. Let we not bulldoze what we do not understand yet. Let we not destroy what we don't know the utility of. There is a concept of load-bearing wall in civil engineering. So there are certain walls which you bring down, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. But then there is a load-bearing wall. बाहर से a person who is not trained in civil engineering, he would not find a difference. दोनों में ईंटें होंगी, दोनों में सीमेंट रेत होगा, सेम होगी, दोनों के ऊपर पलस्तर होगा. But the civil engineer knows which is the load-bearing one, which is not. The civil engineer knows how to destroy the load-bearing one. He knows it. So let's not destroy what we don't know the utility of. We don't understand what all rests upon it. छोटी छोटी चीजें जिनको हम destroy करने के लिए निकले हैं. We do not know what all rests out of our faith, out of our culture on it. हमने क्या अंडरस्टैंड किया? हमने ये अंडरस्टैंड किया इस डिस्कशन से that our curriculum has to select those cultural elements which matter most here and now, which have the greatest immediate intrinsic significance and appeal. हमने ये देखा कि जब तक एक स्टूडेंट, एक pupil, एक learner recognize नहीं करेगा the legitimacy of what he is being asked to learn, कोई भी स्किल, कोई भी प्रेशर, कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजी उससे सेटिस्फैक्ट्री और परमानेंट रिजल्ट्स नहीं हासिल कर पाएगा, क्योंकि वो मजबूरी में पढ़ रहा है. और इसमें हमने देखा द इम्पेडिमेंट इज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ मटेरियल इनटू एंडलेस नैरो सब डिविजन्स. कहने का मतलब द मटेरियल इटसेल्फ इज डिप्राइव्ड ऑफ लाइफ, द मटेरियल इटसेल्फ इज डिप्राइव्ड ऑफ वैल्यू. फिर हमने इसके बाद बात की द प्रॉब्लम इज ऑफ ए टीचर हु डजंट बिलीव. दिस हैज टू गो. द वेरी थिंग्स मोस्ट ऑब्वियसली वर्दी टू बी लर्नड बाय एवरीवन are things that cannot be put into these small boxes. They can only be put in large compartments. We have to abandon the pigeonholes we are in. अगर हम ये करेंगे, ये हकीकत है कि ये पूरे करिकुलम, पूरे स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ एजुकेशन को उलट देगा. ये बिल्कुल ही एक अलग बात हो रही है, ये कुछ नया हो रहा है. But the system we are talking about is already a failure. Anything we do beyond it is a success. Anything, because it's failing. ये जब हम पर्सनली खुद को खुद टीच करना शुरू करेंगे घर पे, we'll see the results for ourselves. The effective dissemination of a living culture is a matter far too urgent to be blocked by any conventions or any fetishes or any vested interests or anything whatsoever, however well established it is in society. Simplification, rationalization, and the provision of cultural materials जिसकी significance visible हो. This is the direction in which our school reform has to go.